The next project is called Pharmakon Landscapes. The term pharmakon, most of you may know, comes from the Greek and refers to something that is both remedy and poison at the same time. Not remedy or poison, not that it could be decided later, but in fact always is both. And in this case, it is looking at this as a technique for the composition of a landscape, and also as a way of interpreting and seeing landscapes around us. But to that point of the pharmakon for a moment, we might say that any sufficiently powerful or effective technology is simultaneously both good and bad, both remedy and poison, and that particularly emerging technologies, ones that we don't necessarily understand all of the functions for, might be so in particular, a bit like stem cells before they clarify and the division of functions that are held within them. But with this in mind, we are cognizant of why it may in fact be worthwhile to reserve a bit of final commentary on the social efficacy of a technology, and especially not to be confused by its early provisional and to a certain extent random initial uses, and to confuse those initial functions with the ultimate potential of that technologies itself. Those early manifestations don't necessarily reveal its essential character and potential. And so with this in mind, we would want to cultivate that pharmacological quality of the technology for as long as possible, to keep it undecided, so that the scope of its potential would be potentially realized. In this case, however, the pharmakon at stake is not a thing, not even a process, but in fact a landscape, which includes many things. Has a site, has a situatedness, but is amorphous in terms of its fixed boundaries, is always taking things in and out of itself. And yet is in many cases something that is not just there, but is deliberately composed. And that's where our interest lies. As you'll see, the project begins in its exploration of the pharmacological quality of a potential landscape with a quote from James Lovelock about nuclear waste that I'm sure will give many Gaia people the shivers, but all the better. It speaks quite directly to how it is the group seeks to investigate the work of the cure as a kind of poison, and indeed the work of the poison as a kind of cure. Like some of the other projects, the territorial typology of the corridor, and indeed the artificial green corridor, plays an important role within this as a landscape design project. But before it's a design project, it is, I think in many senses, in the best senses, a philosophical one as well. One of the terms that the project introduces is what they call psychogeophysics. Now, psychogeography might be a more commonly understood term, but in this case, psychogeophysics refers to the psychology by which a landscape, and indeed the geology that composes that landscape and the biology that composes that landscape in turn, is seen, is interpreted, not just seen optically, but also seen conceptually, and in fact the play back one with the other. And it investigates this through a kind of idiosyncratic history of Russian geography, pulling forth geographic traditions from the early 20th century, late 19th century and early 20th century of Russian geography, and projecting these onto our contemporary concerns by demonstrating their own psychogeophysical vision as something that will retain usefulness for us. And in this cycle of the geophysical and this process of curing and poisoning at once, the problematics of media and indeed remediation the remediation of a landscape also, as you'll see, comes to the fore. Unlike some of the other projects, this one is really, I see more as a kind of visual survey, a bit of a cinematic essay on the place of poison and the place of cure, and how it is one might be done with, and what one might do the work of the other. In fact, it may always do so. You'll see the roles of decay and function, the decay of function, the function of decay. And along the way, the invitation will be to follow the poison in order to find the inner periphery, which, as it turns out, is where things are really happening. That is where to poison is to make a landscape. So, Pharmakon landscapes.
Hello, I'm Andrey. I'm a designer from Moscow, Russia.
Hi, I'm Luciano. I'm an architect and researcher from Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Hello, my name is Gong. I'm a documentary producer. I'm from China. Our film, Pharmakon Landscape, it's a way of seeing the landscape.